All right, good afternoon. We're going to have a really interesting conversation here. I am Atul Arya, Chief Energy Strategist from S&P Global. And you've already heard this morning, if you were paying attention to the Prime Minister, she talked about the supply chains. So that's what we're going to talk about, the importance of supply chains. We will all remember COVID when we couldn't get the face masks, right? But the supply chains we are worried about now are critical minerals, and of course, new technologies. And to have that conversation, I have two fantastic panelists with me. Emilie Bodoin, who is the founder, CEO, and the chairman of Pure Lithium. Emilie, welcome to FII. And then we have, I want to make sure I get the right pronunciation for you, Fadi. Fadi,
Saadeh.
Fadi, thank you, Fadi. Acting CEO of the Voluntary Carbon Markets from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Fadi, welcome to you. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the mineral supply chain, then I will bring into discussion the importance of markets and carbon markets in particular as to how they can contribute to creating more resilient supply chains. So let's start with you, Emilie. Just kind of give us a landscape of current state, and you're of course working in battery technologies, right? So what's happening? What's the situation?
Yes, well, unfortunately, the situation for battery supply chain is one of inefficiency and complete and total chaos. Everyone in this room is holding a phone, and 50% of the materials in your phone is graphite, and 99% of it comes from China. That's not an efficient supply chain or a resilient supply chain. So we really need to change that. The lithium-ion battery was actually invented in part in Japan. There were 3 Nobel laureates. Akira Yoshino invented this graphite anode, but prior to that, there was a battery called lithium metal that was invented that will enable a much more simple supply chain.
Yeah, and are there things which are happening more broadly? We'll talk about what you're doing in a minute as to create more resiliency. What are you seeing in the marketplace now?
In the marketplace for battery and battery materials, you know, in the United States, for example, you hear a lot of noise about bringing more mining and supply chain development there, but it takes a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
And with tariffs and geopolitical constraints and the fact that every person on the planet needs to use a battery for some reason or another, we absolutely need to expand where we make batteries and start to use different materials.
Yeah, and make them as you say, in different materials, which is where we will. I'll come back to you now. Another thing I should point out to our audience is that batteries are also becoming a national security issue, isn't it? Using in things like drones and other defense-related equipment.
Yes, 100%, 100%. So it's very important for countries to have a way to make batteries independently of just one country, just like your COVID mask analogy, right? It just doesn't make sense to have batteries that are so important for defense, but also so important for things like education, for children that have tablets to learn on, for gaming. They're used in energy storage. They're used for everything. So we must have a global outlook and supply chain for batteries.
And you have an answer to that, but I'll come back to that answer in a minute. Fadi, tell us about how do you see the importance of carbon markets in creating more resiliency?
Yeah, so definitely we know that Asia is a big player when it comes to supply chain. We know that carbon credits are a major player when it comes to resilience. We see rules, policies coming from Europe, like the CBAM. We're seeing some policies internally in corporates and companies when it comes to supply chain, with the emissions of this part or that part that needs to come in, and having a proper resilience for those supply chains is very important, right, when it comes to emissions. And this is where carbon market can play a pivotal role in offsetting those while we're building the innovations to renewable energies and so on.
And how has your effort been in focusing overall globally in the carbon markets? Where are you in your kind of journey?
So VCM has been established 3 years ago. We've traded more than 10 million carbon credits just within the last 3 years. We've become the largest regionally and one of the biggest 3 internationally. And this shows how Global South and Asia are super important when it comes to carbon market. We're seeing very big markets such as, like we all know from a compliance market, Japan gonna have that mandate ETS system 2026. China has the biggest ETS system when it comes when it comes from an emission covered area, and we have Korea who had their ETS system since 2007, I think, or 15. Saudi Arabia is also announcing their ETS system. That's coming in 2028. That's from a compliance market. From a voluntary market, Asia covers more than like 50% of the generated carbon credits today are coming from Asia.
Yeah.
And this is where VCM focus a lot in this market.
So I'll come back to you on the Asia piece. Emilie, give our audience a little bit of a tech lesson, if you would, on the battery of today and the battery of tomorrow. We're talking lithium batteries here, and your vision for creating more resilient supply chains, the topic of our panel. How are you going to do that?
Absolutely. So very, very simply, there have been in our lifetime 2 battery technologies, only 2, commercialized past gigawatt-hour scale. One is lead acid, that's generally used to start your car, and the other is lithium ion that we all use today. However, before lithium ion, one of the Nobel laureates named Stanley Whittingham invented a lithium metal battery. The patent was granted in 1977 when he was working at ExxonMobil, the oil company. So fast forward to today, that battery eliminates graphite. It's half of the weight, and it can be up to 3 times the capacity of the one we have today. But the best part is it's made in what's called the charged state. So it takes over 500 days for lithium to get from the ground into your battery and 55,000 miles around the globe. That is not resilient or efficient, and it's pretty energy intensive. We can electrodeposit lithium, we combine basically extraction and anode production. So I make half of the battery in a day. That's a big, big game changer. So we went back and we're commercializing something that was invented quite a long time ago, and now we have the tools and new materials and the motivation truly to do it. And this battery could be made solely in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia because they have all of the components for both of it. It could be made in Australia, North America. And now you can see a world where, remember when we had tape cassettes to listen to music and then CDs? Think about a lithium ion battery as a CD, and lithium metal is now music that you stream on your iPhone, and that's where we're headed.
So your concept is to remove the graphite, which is a critical mineral concentrated in one country, and make pure lithium. That's kind of the name of your company as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
And what about the cost, and how do you see the kind of the longer-term scale-up of your technology?
Well, the cost is going to be less than lithium ion when it is at scale because we use less lithium in the battery, we use less components. There's a lot of various technology that I don't have time to completely go into, but we use a lot less energy manufacturing the battery due to these formation cycles. It takes almost 3 weeks to send lithium from one side of your battery into the graphite to make the anode. And we make our battery in 1 day. So we reduce the capex of a factory by 35%, for example, and at least 5% in OpEx and electricity costs. So there are tremendous amounts of benefits for this technology that, again, was invented many, many years ago.
And I presume one other advantage is that the whole panel discussion, new supply chain. So you are in a way disentangling the supply chain, right? Not relying on one critical mineral because everything you're going to use is commonly available. So you can set factories around the world. Is that correct?
Exactly. And this is the really fun and exciting part of it for me, is when I look at the map of the world and I say, where can we all make batteries? What countries, for example, in the global south, can start to bring this industry into their own communities and create really good quality jobs and secure, resilient supply chains. Our second generation battery uses vanadium, which is a byproduct of oil production. It's abundant in Saudi Arabia. It's abundant in Australia. So I see a vision where we really can displace one technology with another that's more efficient and resilient and performs better. I think everyone in this room can agree on one thing. We would all like our phone to last for several days. And that's a possibility with this technology and a better supply chain. We just have to have the guts to actually do it and a collective vision together to actually make these things happen.
Okay, thank you. Fadi, you started to talk about what you're doing here in Asia. So give our audience a bit of a flavor, some specific examples of things you're doing here in Asia on the carbon markets front.
Yeah, definitely. So in Asia mainly, we just announced great news. We're having the first participant from Japan, hopefully participating on our platform. We already have participants from Singapore, China, and others. And this shows the confidence internationally in Saudi Arabia being a baseline when it comes to building a carbon market platform or a marketplace. We talked about the ETS system and how Asia is super important. About VCM, as we mentioned, almost 25% of the carbon credits that's traded on our platform was coming from projects in Asia. We supported projects like technology-based, like air capture projects. We supported other technology like negative cement projects, natural-based here, landfills where you can take methane and produce electricity out of that. And this all supports the supply chain, which is mainly focused currently on Asia, and help them navigate by offsetting their emissions, help them navigate when it comes to those policies, when it comes to regulations in Europe, US, and others.
So is your kind of thinking that the market will help decarbonize and maybe scale some technologies? You mentioned some of them.
Yeah, definitely. So again, there is a very big growth in Asia from a population perspective, from a technology perspective. We see AI and how energy consumption that's required, and that takes time for you to build the renewable energy. Meanwhile, you need to have a proper offset mechanism for you to actually offset the emissions that you have. And carbon markets is a dual-edged sword. It helps those corporates today to offset their emissions. Meanwhile, you're helping a project directly on the ground today to actually innovate and build products that's either remove or prevent greenhouse gases from being emitted to the atmosphere.
Yeah. So Emilie, one of the themes we have heard all day so far today has been the theme about collaboration, right? Cooperation, collaboration. So, and we have some important policymakers and politicians here at this event. What will be kind of your vision, your ask? How do you move the ball forward? What's your vision for the future? For the companies and the private sector and the public sector come together to create more resilient supply chains?
Our vision is to really deploy this technology into the market in the most capital efficient way possible. And that is to open the technology up, to work with other companies. For example, how did the United States get the first electric car? They worked with Panasonic right here in Japan, and that's how it happened, right? And that's what we need to do to deploy this battery. We need to work with these global hubs like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, like Australia, places in North America that have the materials, and work with countries like Japan, where the lithium-ion battery was first commercialized by Sony, right? This is the ancestral home of the batteries where we sit today. So to me, to be here is so inspiring, witnessing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia wanting to collaborate with Japan, because you can use the manufacturing powerhouse and technology and innovation of Japan and materials from the kingdom. And these are the beautiful collaborations that could really make the world a much more friendly and resilient and safer place.
You know, when we were talking yesterday, You mentioned that your technology will be a very good fit for things like two-wheelers and three-wheelers and for drones. Say a little bit more, lots of two and three-wheelers in Asia, starting with in India, right?
Yes, there are. So our first path to market uses a cathode called lithium iron phosphate that's very ubiquitous, and we still eliminate all graphite. The one that we're working on developing that I'm very excited about uses vanadium oxide, and we share a patent with Stan Whittingham, the Nobel Prize winner, on it. Why is vanadium important? It's stable up to 1800 degrees C. Half of the battery in Tesla, sitting in California in the heat, half of the energy is using to cool that battery. If you use vanadium, you don't need that same level of cooling. So we've now dramatically reduced the cost and extended the energy density and range of the two and three wheel ability in a place like India, which could just dramatically impact the air quality that people breathe. So I'm tremendously motivated to bring that technology to the market.
So are you looking for partners here in Asia, in Japan, and India? Maybe people should come and talk to you after the session?
We're looking for all of the partners. Come and find myself, find Emilie Munt, our VP of Operations, our Head of Exploration, Eric Finleyson's here in the audience. Come find us. We want all the partners and all the collaborators to deploy the technology. We're not some secret stealth company. We want this out into the world, into the market as soon as possible, and we want the most help from everyone that we can get.
I should tell our audience that you have the most impressive set of PowerPoints on your laptop, which you can show to anybody who's interested, right?
Yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you.
So, Fadi, let's talk about one of the big issues here in Asia, just focusing on Asia, is moving away from coal to renewable energies. Do you see a role for carbon markets to kind of do that transition?
Yeah, like one of the biggest criticisms when it comes to supply chain being in Asia is the use of coal. The International Energy Association just saying today that coal in China got reduced slightly. In Japan, moderate decrease happened this year. Korea, there's a sharp decline when it comes to coal. Carbon markets is like the biggest problem today to move out from coal is building the capital. And carbon markets can have a very big role when it comes to building capital to build or replace or dephase those coal energy. So it first came, I think, in 2022 by John Kerry, where he started having the carbon market when it comes to phasing out those coal. And then I think Vera Registry just this year announced some specific methodologies to generate carbon credits when it comes to dephasing those coal mines. And we have, for example, today, Rockefeller and other foundations that planned more than 60 plants that going to be fully phased out from being coal to moving to renewable energies. And this just shows how carbon market can actually bring capital in and actually can build those renewable energy factories.
So brief answer, do you think all these markets, how long before they all get connected to create something like a more global market? How far away are we?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It definitely takes time, right? So for it to move out, and this is why today the carbon market exists. You have an offset mechanism today that helps you phase out in time while you're still economically growing up, while you're still building an infrastructure without actually affecting your growth, your everything, like what Europe is trying to do today, right?
Emilie, I'm going to give you the last word. So my takeaway from you is that rather than trying to onshore everything into different countries, say in the West, is to innovate is the better solution?
Yes, 100%. The only way is to innovate. We need to leapfrog technology, and that's how we're going to see this really good, effective change. It's impossible to onshore lithium-ion battery manufacturing at this point in time. And why would you? Because it's 46 years old.
Yes.
What technology does anyone in this room use that's actually 46 years old? So let's start thinking and bring some fresh energy into battery manufacturing and think about supply chains and build resilient supply of energy with new technology.
Well, Emilie, Bodoin, thank you very much for giving our audience a kind of peek into what you're doing in pure lithium. Good luck to you, and hopefully you come back here to Japan and tell us maybe in a couple of years where your technology is. And Fadi, Saad, thank you very much, and good luck to you with expansion of carbon markets. Please join me in thanking this great panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.